the Council's last warning. The massive chamber of Station Nexus Prime had never seen such tension. Representatives from over 200 species filled the circular amphitheater, their voices creating a symphony of concern that echoed off the crystalline walls. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Zira Caney, her silver skin pale with exhaustion and fear. Zira's hands trembled as she activated the holographic display. The three-dimensional star map materialized above the assembly, showing a small, yellow star on the outer edge of the Milky Way's spiral arm. A tiny blue dot orbited the star, appearing insignificant among the vast cosmic display. "Distinguished members of the Galactic Trade Union," Zira began, her voice carrying across the chamber through the universal translators. "I stand before you today to speak of a world that has haunted my people for 2 centuries. A world that has become the graveyard of explorers, the doom of merchants, and the nightmare of scientists." She gestured to the blue dot, and the display zoomed in to show a beautiful planet covered in swirling white clouds, blue oceans, and green and brown continents. "Earth," she whispered, and the word seemed to hang in the air like a curse. High, above the assembly floor in the VIP section reserved for galactic powers, Emperor Draxon Vorth lounged in his ceremonial throne. The Krillian ruler was an imposing figure even by his species standards, standing nearly 3 meters tall when fully upright. His exoskeleton was polished to a mirror shine, and his forearms were adorned with the ceremonial weapons of his rank. His compound eyes focused on the small Althari ambassador below, and what passed for a smile crossed his mandibles. "This should be entertaining," he rumbled to his aide, General Vask. "Listen to the herbivores speak of their fears." But Council Speaker Morvek, an ancient being whose species had mediated galactic disputes for millennia, raised his staff for silence. "Ambassador Caney has requested this emergency session under Article 7 of the Union Charter. She claims to have evidence of a Class Alpha threat to galactic civilization. We will hear her testimony." Zira nodded gratefully and activated another sequence in her presentation. 217 years ago, my ancestor, Captain Zeth Kane, led the first official expedition to the Sol system. The Althari Republic was expanding its trade routes, seeking new partners and resources. Earth's radio transmissions had been detected decades earlier, showing a young civilization that had recently developed nuclear technology. The hologram shifted to show a sleek vessel, clearly of Althari design, approaching the blue world. The RSS Harmony carried a crew of 250 beings, including diplomats, scientists, and traders. Their mission was simple: make contact with the humans, assess their technological level, and if possible, establish trade relations. The display showed the ship entering Earth's atmosphere, descending through the clouds toward what appeared to be a large landmass. Captain Kane's last transmission was sent from an altitude of 10,000 meters above the North American continent. He reported that the humans appeared to be in the middle of a global conflict, with large military formations visible across multiple continents. Zira paused, her voice growing quieter. The Harmony was never seen again. No distress signal, no wreckage, no survivors. It simply vanished. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Ship disappearances were not uncommon in space exploration, but the way Zira presented the information suggested something more sinister. "That might have been the end of it," Zira continued, but the humans' radio signals grew stronger. They developed more advanced technology, launched satellites, even sent primitive missions to their moon. The mystery of the Harmony's fate became a legend in our culture. The hologram shifted again, showing a timeline stretching across 2 centuries. Red markers appeared at regular intervals, each representing a different expedition to Earth. 73. Years after the Harmony, the hegemony of Vex sent 3 scout ships to Earth. The humans had by then developed crude space stations and were actively exploring their solar system. The Vex ships were equipped with the most advanced stealth technology of their era. The display showed sleek, predatory vessels approaching Earth from different angles. All 3 ships transmitted their arrival safely. All 3 began their surveys of the human homeworld, and all 3 stopped transmitting within 6 hours of beginning their observations. Emperor Draxon leaned forward slightly, His interest peaked despite his earlier dismissal. The hegemony of Vex were known for their military prowess and advanced technology. Losing ships to a primitive species seemed impossible. The pattern continued, Zira said, her voice growing stronger with each word. The Corinthi Science Collective sent a research vessel 30 years later. It was found drifting empty in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, its crew missing and its computers wiped clean. The Nexari Trading Company lost 2 cargo ships attempting to establish secret mining operations on Earth's moon. The ships were found crashed on the lunar surface, their hulls twisted as if they had been crushed by some tremendous force. The holographic timeline filled with more red markers, each representing another failed expedition, another mystery, another loss. Representatives in the assembly began to shift nervously in their seats. But the most disturbing incident, Zira continued, occurred just 12 years ago. The Karathi Empire, believing their superior military technology would succeed where others had failed, sent a full battle squadron to claim Earth for their territory. The display showed a formation of massive warships, bristling with weapons and armor plating. These were not exploration vessels or merchant ships, but tools of conquest designed to subjugate entire worlds. The squadron consisted of 5 heavy cruisers, 12 frigates, and the flagship Devastator, a dreadnought capable of cracking a planet's crust with its main guns. The fleet was commanded by Admiral Krex, a veteran of 47 successful planetary conquests. Zira activated an audio file, and the chamber filled with the voice of Admiral Krex, speaking in the guttural Karathi language. The universal translators quickly converted his words. Command, this is Admiral Krex reporting from the edge of the Earth system. The planet appears to be in a state of ecological collapse, heavy industrial pollution, massive military conflicts, and signs of resource depletion. The humans should be easy to subdue, beginning approach to establish orbital dominance. The transmission crackled with static, then continued. Entering the inner system now. Human vessels detected, but they appear to be simple chemical-powered rockets. No threat to our forces. Wait. I'm reading some unusual energy signatures near the planets. Satellite. Command, are you receiving this data? The voice grew more urgent. Something's wrong here. Our sensors are being jammed. No, not jammed. Redirected. It's like the readings are being fed back to us in a loop. I've never seen anything like this. The humans can't possibly have this level of technology, but the transmission devolved into static, then screaming, then silence. 3 weeks later, Zira continued, her voice barely above a whisper. The Karathi home fleet received a single message from the Earth system. It was broadcast on all frequencies, in perfect Karathi, but spoken by a human voice. Another audio file activated and the chamber filled with the sound of a calm, measured human voice speaking flawless Karathi. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Command. We have received your fleet in the manner that uninvited guests deserve. Your ships and crews are being held in accordance with the Geneva Convention, as modified for extraterrestrial conflicts. If you wish to discuss the return of your people, you may send a single diplomatic vessel to the coordinates we are transmitting. Any further military vessels entering this system will be considered an act of war. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Emperor Draxon's compound eyes narrowed as he processed what he had heard. The implications were staggering. Zira activated the hologram one final time, showing a series of blurry, long-range sensor images. They appeared to show wreckage floating in space near Earth, but the resolution was too poor to make out details. These images were taken by a long-range survey probe that managed to escape the Earth system, Zira explained. They show what we believe to be the remains of the Karathi battle squadron. Notice the way the metal has been twisted and fused. These ships weren't destroyed by conventional weapons. The energy patterns suggest technology far beyond what humans should possess. She turned to face the assembly directly. In the past 2 centuries, 12 different expeditions have been sent to Earth by 8 different species. None have returned, intact. Some vanished without a trace. Others were found as empty hulks drifting in space. A few managed to send back warnings before going silent forever. The holographic display showed a final image, a classified document bearing the seals of multiple galactic governments. Based on all available evidence, the Intelligence Division of the Galactic Trade Union has classified Earth as a Class Alpha. Threat to galactic civilization. The recommendation is unanimous. The Sol system should be declared a forbidden zone, off-limits to all galactic traffic. Council Speaker Morvek stood, his ancient form imposing despite his great age. The evidence presented by Ambassador Caney is compelling. The Council will now hear statements from other member species before voting on the proposed classification. Representative. After Representative rose to speak. The Viridian Collective reported sensor ghosts and electronic warfare signatures emanating from the Earth system. The Andromedian Trade Guild shared stories of merchant vessels that had reported strange encounters with impossible human ships near the edge of the solar system. Even the normally secretive Phantom Syndicate admitted to losing an entire intelligence gathering, operation to unknown human countermeasures. But then Emperor Draxon rose from his throne, his massive form casting a shadow over the assembly floor. The chamber fell silent as he descended to the speaking platform, his ceremonial weapons clinking with each step. Council members, he began, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to shake the chamber itself. I have listened to these tales of fear and superstition with growing amusement. You speak of mysterious disappearances and impossible technology, but I hear only the excuses of failed expeditions and incompetent commanders. He activated his own holographic display, showing the expanding borders of the Krillian Empire. In 300 years of expansion, the Krillian Empire has conquered 74 worlds and subjugated 43 different species. We have faced energy beings that could manipulate matter with their thoughts, silicon-based life forms that could survive in the vacuum of space, and machine intelligences that spanned entire star systems. In every case, superior military force and tactical planning have achieved victory. The display zoomed in on Earth, showing detailed analysis of human military capabilities based on intercepted communications. The humans are a young, divided species still fighting among themselves with primitive weapons. Their most advanced spacecraft barely reach their own moon. Their weapons are chemical-based projectiles and nuclear devices that our shields can easily deflect. Whatever happened to these previous expeditions, it was not the result of superior human military capability. Emperor Draxon's compound eyes, fixed on Ambassador Zira. More likely, these were the results of poor planning, inadequate preparation, or simple cowardice. The Karathi, in particular, were known for their reckless tactics and poor intelligence gathering. It's no surprise their fleet met with disaster. He turned to address the full assembly. The Krillian Empire formally objects to any classification of Earth as a forbidden zone. The planet sits at a strategic location on the outer rim of the galaxy, with rich resources and a young population that could be easily integrated into galactic civilization. To abandon such a prize based on superstition and fear would be a mistake that future generations would curse us for. Ambassador Zira stepped forward, her voice urgent. Emperor Draxon, with respect, you are making the same mistake that has cost 12 expeditions their lives. The humans are not what they appear to be. Every species that has approached Earth with hostile intent has disappeared or been destroyed. Every species that has underestimated them has paid the price. But Draxon merely laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Ambassador, the Krillian Empire does not make the mistakes of lesser species. When we move against Earth, it will be with overwhelming force and perfect preparation. The humans will have two choices: surrender immediately or face the full might of our war machine. He turned to leave, then paused. The Empire will not be bound by any council decision regarding Earth. If the rest of you are too frightened to claim this prize, we will do so alone. Within 1 galactic standard year, Earth will be a Krillian colony, and its resources will fuel our next century of expansion. The vote was taken quickly after Emperor Draxon's departure. By a margin of 173 to 27, the Galactic Trade Union officially classified Earth as a forbidden zone. Travel to the Sol system was banned, and severe penalties were established for any violations. But as the assembly dispersed and representatives returned to their homeworlds, a single thought dominated every conversation. The Krillian Empire had never been bound by council decisions before, and they would not be stopped by a vote. In the depths of space, the largest war fleet in galactic history was already being assembled. Emperor Draxon had made his decision, and nothing in the galaxy could change his mind. The trap was set, baited with the appearance of a primitive, defenseless world. All that remained was for the prey to take the bait, and the Krillian Empire was already moving toward Earth, confident in their superiority and blind to the danger that awaited them in the shadow of the blue world. The warnings had been given. The evidence had been presented. The vote had been taken. But some lessons could only be learned through experience, and the Krillian Empire was about to receive an education that would be remembered throughout the galaxy for millennia to come. When predators become prey 6 months after the Galactic Trade Union vote, the largest military fleet in recorded history dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 2,000 Krillian warships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with predatory menace against the star field. At the fleet's heart, the massive dreadnought Worldbreaker stretched nearly 5 kilometers from bow to stern, its weapon systems capable of turning entire continents to glass. Emperor Draxon stood on the bridge of his flagship, his forearms clasped behind his back as he gazed at the blue world through the main viewer. Earth hung in the darkness like a jewel, its white clouds swirling peacefully over green and brown continents. From this distance, it looked completely defenseless. "Status report," Draxon commanded, his voice carrying the authority of absolute power. Admiral Vask, his chief military commander, approached with a data tablet clutched in his primary manipulators. "All ships report ready for combat operations, my Emperor. Long-range sensors detect primitive orbital stations around the planet, but nothing that poses a threat to our forces. The humans appear to be in the middle of another global conflict, with military formations engaged across multiple continents." Draxon's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "Perfect. A divided enemy is a defeated enemy. What of their space-based defenses?" "Minimal, my Emperor. Chemical-powered rockets, crude satellites, and what appear to be early-generation space stations. Their most advanced vessels are simple transport ships with no detectable weapon systems. Our intelligence estimates suggest the entire human military could be neutralized within hours of beginning orbital bombardment." The Emperor turned to his science advisor, Dr. Kalak, a smaller Krillian whose exoskeleton bore the blue markings of the research caste. "Doctor, what can you tell me about the previous expeditions that supposedly vanished in this system?" Dr. E. Kalak consulted his own data tablet, his compound eyes reflecting the glow of the screen. "My Emperor, I have analyzed all available records from the failed expeditions. In every case, the disappearances can be explained by poor planning, inadequate equipment, or commander error. The Althari relied too heavily on diplomatic protocols and were likely overwhelmed by human military response. The Karathi fleet was notorious for reckless tactics that probably led to their destruction through conventional means. And the claims of impossible human technology?" Draxon asked. "Sensor ghosts and electronic interference, most likely." "Young civilizations often produce electromagnetic noise that can confuse advanced sensor systems. What these previous expeditions, interpreted as advanced stealth technology, was probably nothing more than solar radiation and primitive radio transmissions." Draxon nodded, his confidence growing. "Excellent. Begin Phase 1 of the operation. I want complete sensor coverage of the system before we move into the inner planets." Across the fleet, sensor arrays activated and began sweeping the Sol system with invisible beams of energy. The data that flowed back to the Worldbreaker seemed to confirm every assumption about human primitiveness. Earth's orbital space was cluttered with crude satellites and simple space stations. The humans had small bases on their moon, but they appeared to be scientific research facilities rather than military installations. On Mars, long-range scans detected what appeared to be early terraforming experiments and small scientific outposts. The asteroid belt showed signs of primitive mining operations, but nothing that suggested advanced industrial capability. Jupiter and Saturn were surrounded by natural rings and moons with no signs of artificial structures. "My Emperor," Admiral Vask reported, "system scan complete. No hidden fleets, no advanced weapon platforms, no signs of sophisticated defensive networks. The system appears to be exactly what our intelligence suggested, a young civilization barely beginning to explore their own solar system, but deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth in a facility that did not appear on any satellite image or sensor scan. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the Krillian fleet with calm, professional interest. The command center around her buzzed with quiet activity as hundreds of personnel monitored displays showing every detail of the alien formation. "Ma'am," reported Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez from the sensor station, "the Krillian fleet has completed their initial sweep. They're beginning to move into attack formation." Admiral Chen nodded, her gray hair catching the light from the tactical displays. At 62, she had spent her entire adult life preparing for this moment. "How many ships total?" 2017, Admiral, flagged as various classes of warship, with their command vessel registering as a super dreadnought. "Based on our intelligence files, that's likely Emperor Draxon's personal flagship." Chen turned to Captain Marcus Rivera, a tall man in his 40s whose calm demeanor belied the excitement in his eyes. "Marcus, are our people in position?" Rivera consulted a secure data tablet. "All deep space assets are deployed and holding. Station, Luna Base reports ready. Mars Command is standing by. The Belt Mining Consortium has confirmed that all installations are prepared for Phase 2 activation. And the Jovian defense grid?" "All stations report green across the board, Admiral. The Emperor is going to get quite a surprise when he reaches the inner system." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Director of Human-Alien Relations, looked up from her analysis station. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes that masked a brilliant, tactical mind. She had been studying alien psychology and military doctrine for over 2 decades. Sarah, based on their formation and approach vector, they're planning a standard imperial subjugation, orbital bombardment of major population centers, followed by ground forces to secure strategic resources. Admiral Chen smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Then they're going to be very disappointed. All stations, this is Admiral Chen. Operation Mousetrap is now active. I repeat, Operation Mousetrap is active. All units maintain concealment until the targets reach optimal engagement range." On the Worldbreaker's bridge, Emperor Draxon watched with satisfaction as his fleet moved into the inner system. The formation was a masterpiece of military precision. Heavy dreadnoughts at the center, surrounded by layers of cruisers, destroyers, and frigates. Fighter squadrons flew protective patterns around the capital ships, their pilots eager for combat against the primitive human forces. "My Emperor," Dr. Kalak reported, "we are detecting increased radio traffic from the planet. The humans appear to be aware of our presence, as expected," Draxon replied. "No doubt they are panicking and attempting to coordinate some pathetic defense. What is the nature of their communications?" "Mostly encrypted, my Emperor, but our code-breaking systems are analyzing the patterns. From what we can determine, they are activating military units and attempting to evacuate civilian populations from major cities." Admiral Vask approached the command throne. "My Emperor, we are receiving a transmission from the planet, audio only, in our language. Put it through," Draxon commanded, curious to hear what the primitive humans might say. The bridge speakers crackled to life, and a calm female voice filled the chamber, speaking perfect Krillian. "Emperor Draxon of the Krillian Empire, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Command. You are entering sovereign human space without permission. We strongly advise you to halt your advance and request proper diplomatic clearance." The bridge crew erupted in laughter at the audacity of the message. Emperor Draxon himself joined in, his mandibles clicking with amusement. How delightfully arrogant. These humans actually think they can dictate terms to the Krillian Empire. He gestured to his communications officer. "Open a channel. Let me respond to this, Admiral Chen, personally." The channel activated, and Draxon's voice boomed across space, toward Earth. "Human Admiral, I am Emperor Draxon, ruler of the Krillian Empire and conqueror of 74 worlds. You will surrender immediately and prepare your planet for occupation. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species." The response came back quickly, the human admiral's voice remaining infuriatingly calm. "Emperor Draxon, I appreciate your directness. However, I must inform you that Earth is under the protection of the Galactic Trade Union, which has classified this system as off-limits to military action. Your presence here constitutes a violation of interstellar law. Draxon's amusement turned to anger. The Krillian Empire recognizes no authority higher than its own human. You have 1 hour to begin evacuation of your major cities. After that, we will commence orbital bombardment. I'm sorry, Emperor, but I cannot allow that to happen. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Admiral Vask looked at his Emperor with confusion. My Emperor, how did a primitive species gain access to Union legal codes? And how are they speaking perfect Krillian? Before Draxon could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the bridge. Dr. Kelak's voice rose above the noise. My Emperor, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Ships are decloaking everywhere. The main viewer shifted to tactical display, and Emperor Draxon felt his confidence evaporate like morning mist. The empty space around his fleet suddenly filled with contacts as hundreds of ships materialized from seeming nothingness. They weren't the primitive vessels his intelligence had predicted, but sleek predators that moved through space with impossible grace. Where did they come from? Admiral Vask demanded, his voice tight with shock. Unknown, Dr. Kelak replied, his manipulators dancing over his control panel. Our sensors showed empty space just moments ago. It's as if they were never there, then suddenly appeared. But the surprises were just beginning. As the Krillian fleet tried to react to the sudden appearance of the human ships, more contacts began appearing on sensors. The asteroid belt, which had shown only primitive mining operations, suddenly revealed itself to be hosting massive defensive platforms. The research stations on Luna opened like flowers, exposing weapon systems that dwarfed anything in the Krillian arsenal. Mars, which had appeared to host only small scientific outposts, began launching vessels from hidden facilities beneath its surface. Even the gas giant Jupiter revealed surprises, as its moons opened concealed hangar bays and deployed fleets of their own. Captain Marcus Rivera commanded the human flagship Defiant from a bridge that would have been impossible according to every intelligence report about human technology. The ship moved through space without any visible propulsion system, shifting and turning as if it were alive. Around him, his crew worked with the precision of veterans, their technology seamlessly integrated with their biology in ways that should have taken centuries to develop. Admiral, Rivera reported over the communication link. All deep space assets are in position. The enemy fleet is completely surrounded. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with professional satisfaction. Excellent work, Marcus. Dr. Vasquez, what's your assessment of their psychological state? Dr. Vasquez studied the intercepted communications from the Krillian fleet. They're experiencing severe cognitive dissonance, Sarah. Everything they believed about human capabilities has just been proven wrong. Their command structure is starting to break down as individual ship captains try to process what they're seeing. Perfect. Begin Phase 2. Across the solar system, the trap closed with mechanical precision. Human ships that had been invisible moments before began engaging Krillian vessels with weapons that defied explanation. Energy beams that could phase through conventional shields struck with surgical precision, disabling rather than destroying. Tractor systems more advanced than anything in galactic civilization began pulling Krillian ships out of formation. On the Worldbreaker, chaos reigned. Damage reports flooded in from across the fleet, but they made no sense. Ships were being disabled by weapons that shouldn't exist, crewed by beings who shouldn't possess such technology. My Emperor, Admiral Vask reported, his voice breaking with stress. We've lost contact with over 300 ships. The humans are using some kind of boarding technology that bypasses our shields entirely. Our Marines report that human soldiers are somehow materializing inside our vessels. Emperor Draxon stared at the tactical display in growing horror. His magnificent fleet, the pride of the Krillian Empire, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that had appeared from nowhere. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports showed a primitive species barely capable of reaching their own moon. Dr. Kelak looked up from his sensor station, his compound eyes wide with fear. My Emperor, I'm analyzing the human weapon signatures. The energy patterns are familiar, but impossible. They appear to be using modified versions of our own technology, but improved beyond anything we thought possible. That's impossible, Draxon roared. How could a primitive species have access to our technology? The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral Sarah Chen's voice filled the bridge once again, but this time it was broadcast on all Krillian frequencies simultaneously. Emperor Draxon, you asked how we could possess your technology. The answer is simple. We've been studying visitors like you for over 200 years. Every species that has approached Earth with hostile intent has contributed to our understanding of galactic civilization. Your predecessors were excellent teachers even if they didn't realize it at the time. The main viewer shifted to show Admiral Chen standing in what appeared to be a vast museum. Around her, Draxon could see displayed artifacts from dozens of different species. Althari diplomatic vessels, Karathi battle armor, Nexari mining equipment, and countless other examples of galactic technology. You see, Emperor, humanity has a particular talent for adaptation and improvement. When the Althari first arrived 2 centuries ago, we were indeed a primitive species. But we learned quickly. Each expedition that followed taught us more about galactic technology, military, tactics, and the psychology of alien species. The display shifted to show human engineers working with exotic technologies, their hands moving with the confidence of long experience. We didn't just copy what we found, Draxon. We improved it. Human creativity combined with alien knowledge has produced capabilities that exceed anything your empire has ever encountered. Emperor Draxon found his voice, though it was barely more than a whisper. The previous expeditions, they weren't destroyed by accident or incompetence. No, Admiral Chen confirmed. They were learning experiences. Each one taught us more about what we would face when a major galactic power finally decided to test our defenses. We've been preparing for you specifically, Emperor Draxon, ever since our intelligence networks identified the Krillian Empire as the most likely threat. The revelation hit Draxon like a physical blow. Intelligence networks? You have spies throughout the galaxy? Did you really think that in 200 years of contact with galactic civilization, we wouldn't develop our own capabilities? Emperor, there are humans living and working throughout the galaxy right now. Some of your own officers have human ancestors, though they don't know it. Dr. Vasquez stepped into view beside Admiral Chen. Emperor Draxon, I've been studying Krillian psychology and military doctrine for 23 years. I know exactly how your species thinks, exactly how you plan your campaigns, and exactly what you expected to find when you arrived here. The doctor smiled, and Emperor Draxon felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. Did you really think we would leave our homeworld undefended while we explored the galaxy? Did you honestly believe that a species capable of developing interstellar intelligence networks would still be using primitive chemical rockets? Captain Rivera's voice cut through the stunned silence on the Worldbreaker's bridge. Emperor Draxon, this is Captain Marcus Rivera of the Human Deep Space Fleet. Your remaining vessels are now surrounded and outgunned. I am authorized to offer you terms for surrender. Draxon looked around his bridge at his terrified crew, then at the tactical display showing the scattered remnants of his once mighty fleet. Nearly half his ships had been disabled or captured, and the rest were trapped in a web of human vessels that had appeared from nowhere. What are your terms? He asked, his voice hollow with defeat. Admiral Chen's image reappeared on the main viewer. Complete surrender of all military assets in this system. Your crews will be treated in accordance with interstellar law and repatriated to Krillian space. You personally will remain as our guest while we negotiate a formal peace treaty between our peoples. And if I refuse, Chen's expression hardened, then you'll discover why the Galactic Trade Union classified Earth as a Class Alpha threat. The choice is yours, Emperor. But I should mention that we have detailed intelligence on every Krillian military installation, including the location of your homeworld. The threat was clear and absolute. Emperor Draxon, conqueror of 74 worlds, found himself facing an enemy that knew more about his own empire than he did himself. I surrender, he whispered. Across the solar system, the greatest military force in galactic history began powering down their weapons and preparing for capture. The trap had worked perfectly, and the galaxy would never again underestimate the small blue world on the outer rim. Earth had revealed itself not as a primitive backwater, but as the home of the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever produced, and they had been watching, learning, and preparing for this moment for over 2 centuries. The hunter had become the hunted, and the lesson would echo throughout the galaxy for millennia to come.